Hi everyone and welcome to our fourth episode of the Easy Answers to Complex Questions. Today I bring two topics that I personally consider really important, the ceiling crystal and the genius. These ideas came to the team in an interview and a podcast. We heard for the first time the expression ceiling crystals in an interview with Marilyn Loden, who in 1978 explained that a woman had to face cultural and invisible problems that creates barrier in the professional field, as well as decrease the opportunities for women. She talked about her boss prejudice, the unequal promotion, the stereotypes about the emotional personality, the gender role of women in society, and the unexisting laws about women's employment rights. And in the podcast, we learn about Picasso's life, not as a great artist, but as a person. He was a dangerous man who hurt a lot of people around him, even the woman which he shared his life with. And no one could stop him because he was a talented and known artist. He was in the power position that allowed him to cause damage to people without consequences. So, we decided to invite Andrea and Daniel in order to talk about their research around those two concepts. Andrea and Daniel, welcome. We are really happy to have you here.
Hi Alejandra, thank you for having us. We love your program.
Hi Alejandra, thank you for the invitation.
It's so nice to have you here. Thank you so much. And let's start with the question. So, the first one is why did you decide to talk about this topic and this specific field?
Well, because we feel the same as you, Alejandra. And we find that selling crystal and the genius idea are concepts that portray a real barrier for women in their careers, which in many cases represent an impossible obstacle to overcome. And it's not just in our talks. This can be seen in stories and examples through history where they show the problem and make us reflect on how to change these behaviors and about the causes and the consequences that remain in our society and in the specific professional fields where we work and study. Following these feelings, the main question of our project was how could we recognize the women sealing crystals in arts and science?
Yeah, and definitely. And as a result, we consider that the diversity of our team in terms of gender and professions is a really good tool to explore this question through four interviews where we formulate three questions for each one of us for different women from physics and arts. The first question was about if they consider that there is a ceiling crystal for women in their professional fields, and if there is true, which one, and if they have been affected by it. The second question was about the strategies that they consider necessary to improve the quality in their professional fields. And the last one was about the situation that they recognize in their professional experience or in their professional life experience where the women have been victims of the genius idea. These questions are based on the fact that we can see about the proportion of women and men in some projects, degrees, and profession is not the same. For example, in careers such as science and politics, the larger number of people working in these areas are identified as a men. As a consequence, we choose people from physics and arts to try to understand the situation and also to know if this happened and how it happens.
Wow. So we are having the same realities in both fields. So sad. And what did you find interesting about the interviews? What was the interview's profile?
Yes, the first woman that we have in this interview is Jennifer Cibarote. She has a bachelor degree in physics with a master's degree in nuclear physics. Also, we come with the testimony of Lady Gonzalez, a physicist that decided to change her professional field because of the pressure of being a woman. And on the other hand, in arts, we have Paula Duran experience She is a visual and plastic artist, and she is doing her master in gender studies. This investigation is related to the role of women in arts. As also in arts, we count with the talk with Natalia Trujillo, one of the founders of Redca, a network for women that work as a musician composer in Latin America. And when we analyzed this conversation, we found three principal ideas. We found that the sexism, unfortunately, still happens in our university, in our job, in our careers. Furthermore, the people who are more affected are the women, despite the fact that most of the academic and professional people know that this action transgresses physically and psychologically. Besides, these attitudes limit the opportunities of this professional just for being a woman or identifying as a gender different from a cis man. The second idea that we found comes out as a clear result of the action that I just mentioned. The transgressive people create barriers to prevent themselves from attacks, as well as to stand out in a good way so as not to be invisible. The women strive to be visible and have the same recognition that they men. This shows the different faces gender violence has and how it affects the freedom of the women and people in this situation. And the third one was about the strategy that they proposed to us to make our professional and academic field more equitable.
Those are shocking experiences. I recognize some of those situations in my life, but it is really frustrating to know that it is a generality and it is naturalized in a professional work. But you mentioned strategies. Which one did you find applicable for someone like me, for example?
That is a real observing question because each of them gives a different strategy. And that makes us realize that we have many ways to improve, not just our life, but all the relations that we make. To summarize, we could talk about three groups: education, expressing situations, and the recognition of women's works. Education is necessary. It's a necessity since childhood, both primary and family. This is evident when the professional stereotypes and strong and your gender or sex define that you could do or dream about your future. The situation is reinforced by the fact that in some fields and institutions, there are fewer female professors than men, and this complements the historical invisibility for women having a minor number of female referents. In this sense, it's important to promote quality in men who educate others and have ideas to educate everyone based on gender equality as not formal collective initiative like social media, cultural groups. For making this truth, we need to express discomfort, to express, speak, raise our voices, to report, and highlight the violence and discrimination that is normalized. And at the same time, make proposals to improve that could be easy if we reinforce and generate togetherness and safe spaces between women and extend this, if the desires and the process allows us is not all the cases, to other sexual dissidents, to new masculinities. Finally, also, we don't need to fall in the same power struggles between genders that sexism has prolonged. That is not the idea. It is important to give recognition to the importance of women's work in professional fields and to find a labor regulation politics. And you could say, how could I decide something that is bigger than me in politics? Well, the people that make them are just that, people. So it's in our hands too.
Oh, thank you. About your research, did you find something that you didn't expect?
Yes, one important conclusion that we didn't expect is that when we asked these women about the problems related to sexism in their professional fields, most of them talk about the university first, the starting point. We could deduce that work's program are based in a big part on the attitude and the permission that the academic work gives to some kind of violence. And we strongly believe that our voices have a big power in the society that we build.
Also, we want to encourage to the people listening us to debate about the sexism and the genius in our fields. This could give us different point of view as students, professionals, classmates, and colleagues. Personally, the diversity in our group let us know the experiences of each one of us, which one were complemented with the interviews. As a result, we are more aware about the situation that women have to face daily. We have more structural opinions, and we can think in strategies in our current life to promote equality.
Of course, I agree. I have an idea that we have to promote changes as an individual, but as a society too. And I think that the idea of a genius reinforces the seeing crystals for women in a professional field. The act of creating something is limited by preconceptions about gender and social roles. Overall, we could see that this is a real problem that women feel every day in different contexts. Each of them, science and arts in this case, have a specific problems, sometimes even contraries, but at the end they are from the same roots. Sexism in education and work. So thank you so much, Andrea and Daniel. I hope to have the opportunity to know more about your future research. I made an open invitation to read their article online. We dispose of a link to this objective in our social medias profile. Thank you, everyone. See you next week in another episode of Easy Answer to Complex Questions.